Welcome to Financial Insider Weekly. I am your host, Michael Gray, CPA. My guest today is Dick Blakely. Dick is a wealth consultant. He is the president and CEO of his own company, the Blakely Group, Inc., which he founded in April 2009. He has over 31 years in the investment business, including 27 years as a vice president and group manager at Solomon Smith Barney. And Dick and I have known each other probably most of that time. Anyway, the Blakely Group functions as a virtual family office for selected high-wealth clients. Today, we're going to discuss a case study to show how a family can set financial goals and reach them with the help of a financial advisor. So, Dick, welcome. Thank you for joining me on my show.
Oh, thank you, Mike.
And I'm excited, and this is a little different slant because usually we're talking a little bit more on technical issues. Here we're talking a little bit more about application and psychology and other things, but maybe to show a little bit of what the value of a family advisor can be. So thank you for bringing up this idea to me.
Oh, good. I'm really looking forward to it. I think this is an important part, application.
Yes, okay. So why don't we talk a little bit, first of all, give a little background, a hypothetical family that you want to talk about.
Okay, well, let's take something that may be a typical family. Let's make the father 74, 75 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Let's make mom 69 years old. Father had been a business owner, sold it 10 years ago. Let's say now he's having some physical problems, plus maybe some short-term memory problems. Mom's been a great homemaker. She's had less to do in the financial decision world. She's been great there for the rock for both the husband and for the two children. Let's give them two children. Let's make them both professionals. They're both through college. And, you know, what would be typical is probably two grandchildren and I don't know, let's say 9 and 12 years old. Just that would be typical.
Okay. So you have this family who's come to you. Maybe we should, you were talking a little bit about just starting to have some short-term memory problems. Let's just say this is really, it's become a little bit of an issue. And so that's really, I think what's maybe even instigated some of these meetings to some degree is that there's a feeling maybe we need some help here. So how did you help this family define their financial planning issues?
Well, a family that's like this would start out, would be as an introduction, and we would come in, and it would be a series of meetings. It just wouldn't be one meeting. And it's not one of those that's, you know, here, show me all your financial information and we'll walk away, because usually that's the last thing that we really need to see. So the first meeting is going to be with mom and dad together, and what it's going to be is just a discussion of what are their short-term goals, what's their longer-term goals. And the short-term goals is what do they want to accomplish over the next 12 months, and then they're going to be looking for what's going to be happening over the next 3 years. And I try and look out for 3 years because 5 years seems to be an eternity, and 20 years definitely is a much longer time frame. And so then we'll have the discussion with mom, what's her frustrations. We'll get a chance to hear it from her standpoint. Then we'll talk with dad. He's going to be very frustrated because he knows he's having some short-term memory problems. Then there'll be finally a meeting of the two together, and then go back, put them together some things, and we'll put together a family meeting.
So the family meeting then, basically we want to get also the children to the table.
Right, because the children are going to be the support for the physical and some of the issues with dad, but then especially for mom, because she needs some help here. She's going to probably be angry because for the first time she's being forced out of her comfort zone to make some of these decisions she may not have made in the past.
Okay. So what are some specific issues that arose in the meetings with this family?
Well, usually what will have happened, there will be something that precipitated this. There may be some anything from signing some documents that truly didn't understand what the impact would be on some of the financial situations. There may be missed some payments on some document. It may be the cost of managing the money has got out of line. It may be some loans are out there that have been forgotten about, or some promises has been made that's out there. The estate planning may not be truly up to snuff. So there are a number of those things. And usually what's happened is there's been no oversight. And usually it's by the time I've been brought in, it'll probably be 2-3 years before since there's been real oversight in how the overall process of investment management's been looked after.
In other words, things are sort of falling apart.
There's a little decay in the situation, so it does need to be addressed.
Okay. So when and why did you promote the idea of having family meetings?
Well, as you said, I now have over 30 years in the area. And the biggest thing that I found that happened was misunderstandings. I've seen families that had someone had died intestate. I've seen the bad side of what happens, and it's always costly, and there's always bad feelings when there doesn't really need to be any. And you can make things more effective.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, also, in this particular case that we're talking about again, because Dad's developing dementia, then there needs to be some communication with the children also, as that they're going to have maybe a more important role to play in helping out Mom and Dad.
That's correct. The children, going to help out both Mom and Dad. And as I said, Dad has some physical issues. They may not quite understand why his mom been maybe a little tougher on Dad. Why is she on his case? It may be that she needs some time off and some support that way. Dad now is going to be very frustrated, and he may have said some things that he would not normally have said because he's frustrated as well. So the children know it. It just has not been brought up necessarily with the children. And not only that, is no one's tried to put together to where they can actually become part of the action team to help both Mom and Dad out and actually make things work better for everyone.
Now, in this family that we're talking about, the children, I think, were prepared to step up to these roles, but in some families they're not. And so in some cases you may need to bring other professionals to the table. For example, there are professional fiduciaries that work with families, and so they can step in to roles that maybe other people just aren't prepared to handle.
That's correct. You may need a professional fiduciary. I've actually seen to where you may actually need to bring in a family therapist because things are so disjointed that before you need to bring in the fiduciary, you need to first resolve the other issues and bring them into play first.
Right. Okay, that's a good point. All right. Well, let's say you then, you did decide to have a family meeting. What sort of ground rules do you establish when you're putting one of these together?
Well, the first thing is Mom and Dad need to be in control. So the best way to be in control is a formal written agenda needs to be brought up. Now with that is, what are the rules that are going to be there? What is not on the table to be discussed? That's as important as what's going to be on the table to be discussed. So Mom and Dad are in charge. They write the agenda. Next thing is we need to have the ground rules for the meeting. There are many times, and it depends on how many children and the dynamics of the family, but there may be one child that take more control over a meeting than another. And so there may be one child that feels that they have not been heard. So we need to set up the ground rules in which the children will know that they've all been heard. And at that point, they can also be brought in to become part of the solution for the family. Because it may be that the quiet child that hasn't been heard before may be the biggest part of the solution.
Okay. All right. So in this case, well, was there something else that you wanted to add?
So let's say now you have the meeting. So now let's go to the next thing. You may have the meeting, and you probably need 6 to 8 hours to have such a meeting. And then you have to write copious notes. Mm-hmm. I mean, and then you have to recondense this and come up with planning, what I call planning and financial notes, in which you're going to discuss everything from what the family's goals are. We're going to discuss what is the personal financial statement look like. Mm-hmm. It may be the first time not only the children have seen the personal financial statement for the family, but probably mom's first time that she's actually seen the personal financial statement for the family.
Or dad. I mean.
And dad.
So depends on the family.
Depends on the family. So you're going to have probably a document that may run 8 to 14 pages long. Mm-hmm. That is now a good chronology of what was discussed and who was to do what are the estate planning issues that need to be addressed, what are the investment management issues that need to be addressed. We need to address a whole litany of laundry list of items that need to be discussed and actually either solutions found or to be taken, action items to be taken. And then first, after mom and dad agree, this is what they heard. Now we need to send it out to all the children to let them know so that they all know at the same time what's there. And then follow-up calls and action items and progress reports keep going to the entire family so that this process keeps going on.
So we need good